Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often here. Wipe my tears, only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes. Certain things don't like to talk about, but I'll always remember. The chaos in my mind turned my heart out in November. I'm surrounded by too many doors, not sure which way I entered. But I'm rocking with my loved ones, let you know that front and center. Found out my skin's tough as leather, I can storm through any weather. Addiction was the hardest battle.
Welcome to the Message Hope podcast, where the hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today we have somebody on the show that I met 8 years ago in a treatment center. I wasn't in the same treatment center as her, but she was in a treatment center that catered to women with children or women trying to get their children back. And I ran into her about 2 years ago, and she has about 4.95 years clean right now. And we were going to get her in after 5, and she was willing to come in before. So, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll jump right into it. Ashley, where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? What was it like?
I grew up in Redlands, California. I'm one of 3. I have a twin sister and a little sister. We are the product of 2 horny young adults on meth. Just it happens.
So are my kids.
Yeah. You know, right? I think that's what my son was born
Mine
to,
too.
right? Right. But we're talking about meth from the 80s.
Oh, real meth.
Yeah, real meth.
Okay.
And Mom did her best for about the first year we were born. And then my maternal grandparents got us around, I think, ages 3 and 4. Dad started his prison career. And Mom was looking for love in all the wrong phases. If you were a convict, she was in love. And then it was cool. We went into a home with Nana and Papa. It was structured. There was like chores. There was homework. There was like, which is still a big deal to me to this day. Like you sit down together as a family and you eat dinner, no matter what the day looks like you sit down. But there was always something missing, right? Like, we got to stay in our, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, like if you, like in towns, like it's literally like one side of the tracks is better than the other, right? So it's like, we had 2 houses growing up, one on one side of the tracks and one on the other side of the tracks. And so like we stayed in our elementary school on like the hood side of the tracks. But then like junior high was on the other side of the tracks. And I always noticed as a kid, like there was a certain group of us who like all of our dads were on vacation.
Right.
You know, and like looking back on that now and where I'm at and like the education I've obtained and all that, like I know what that is. But at the time I didn't know what that is. I didn't know why on like school Olympics and stuff like that, it was like my Nana and my Papa showing up and like these people had their mom and their dad. Or like we'd have an award assembly and my mom would show up in a mini skirt, tube top and high heels and like, you know, high as a fucking kite. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand like when that would happen, why the next day like my classmates would be mad at me, and it's because like their dad was checking out my mom. And like so there was always like these little moments that would happen, and I never understood it. I never knew like why was I so different. But I can honestly say like my grandparents did their best. And then around 13. We all know something when we're teenagers, and I have this thing that I won't say I'm sorry if I'm not, because that means you're lying.
Right.
And I got kicked out because we were finally at our first summer party and we trashed the house. But we had full intentions of cleaning it up when we got back. But like we had all this birthday money, so we were like going to do nails because I have a twin sister. So it's like we were all gonna go treat each other, come back, and like Nana was fucking livid, and she was like, apologize. I was like, no. And it was like, it just blew up, and I got to go live with my mom. No rules, no structure. It was okay, like, if she got me up, got me ready, and then, like, she'd been up all night. So she's going to bed, so it's like, okay, well, you got to wait to walk to school. well, then she'd go to sleep, well, then I'd go to sleep. And so, like, attendance started dropping, and middle school was different. There was a big disconnect. There was a big, like, me and my twin sister got kicked out. My little sister stayed. I'd always been afraid of my dad because of the things I was told about my dad. And he wasn't that scary. He was one of us who made really poor choices, and made poor choices while he was incarcerated, and what that can happen in there, as I've learned as an adult. And yeah, that's started fighting. Everyone, so it was weird. Like, I got into church, but I would smoke pot, and everyone else like drank, and I didn't like the feeling of being drunk. I didn't like not having in control. I was content with like smoking pot and going to church. That worked for me. And then high school, like, fighting came. I think I got expelled in 8th grade. Had to go to a continuation school. I was allowed to go, so I did 8th grade, 9th grade in continuation school. Still, the drug thing was not okay. Went living with my mom this whole time. My mom got caught and had to do a drug program, and that was cool. Like, I got to see my mom clean, and that's crazy because that was fucking 20 years ago, and she relapsed, and then I found meth. My little sister came to live with us. We actually found meth together, and my other cousin. And
did you find it in the house?
No.
No.
So it's okay. So remember how I told you, like, in elementary school there was like a group of us, kids, right? And we all lived like, it was like an L. Like, there's one street that dead ends into our street where we live, and then you go down and around the corner, and there's like the other family, and like we all grew up together. And so I got it from a friend of mine that I went to school with since kindergarten, his older sister. And I tried it for the first time with my cousin who died, I think, like 10 years ago in a car accident. And we just wanted to try it. Like, and I, to this day, like, I remember why I wanted to try it. Like, I wanted to see what was so special about this that it kept taking my parents. Like, what is so magical? Like, sorry guys, but like that's just like when you're a little kid and you don't understand why does your dad, when you finally learn your dad's going to prison, like, and it's because of this drug, you're like, dude, and mom like keeps choosing all these dudes over me and kicking me out. Like, what is so special about this? And it's like, and then I realized as soon as I tried it, like, my fucking, it was off and running. Like, head was tingly, my hair had feelings, like, right?
I could feel your hair growing.
Right? It had like brushing your hair. It was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude. And then so like I was like the late bloomer, right? I don't know. I always looked at like my sisters and my cousins, and like I was like, even though I was partying, I was like the wet blanket, right? Like we'd go to high school parties, and it would be like my cousin would be like hammered, hooking up with somebody, and I'd be like, get away from her. You'll thank me in the morning. Promise. You're gonna be like, thank you. So I was always like the weird like teenager, like, you know, like you're fucking on drugs, you're at this party, but you're still playing mom in a sense, like, you know, like get away from him, you know, not caring, getting guns pulled on us because of our mouths, like just you ain't so fucking tough, you know, just ridiculous. Like I look back now and like I think like, oh my god, if my son wasn't on the spectrum and he was normal, like I would be a helicopter mom, because I would not want him at parties talking shit to dudes, having dudes pull guns on him, like just. And this is all Redlands. You don't think this shit happens in Redlands, little white Redlands, like, and it does. And so I was a late bloomer. Got my first boyfriend at almost 18. He was on heroin, and I was loving my meth. And we met at work. I worked at Kmart, and it's like, if we're gonna do this, I'm not doing that. Like, you do heroin, I don't know anything about that. That's scary. And he's like, well, I'm not going to be with a tweaker. And so, like, I abstained. He left for the Navy. Backtrack. We lived together at my mom's house. The rule was, Nana said nobody could have a boyfriend. Living there, rules for me and mom. Mom ratted me out. So I got kicked out. Again, here's like where the apology thing comes in to play. I'm not apologizing. So I got packed up my stuff. I went to live with him in Beaumont with his mom. He left for the Navy. I got a job, a second job, a car. I went to school to be a CNA. I was very naive. Games got played. My attitude was in, like, 'cause I got drunk with my best friend at the time. She'd stolen an ounce of cocaine from her boyfriend at the time. We did the cocaine. The next morning, we woke up naked in bed.
That's what happens sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm an honest person, so I let him know. He was upset. And I was like, well, if you want to go hook up with a dude, like, I mean, eating's not cheating. So.
Is that what they say? I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah. We could have worked it out. Anyways. So that relationship ended. There was a bunch of other, like, things that I'm not going to share on the internet. But that happened. But this whole time I was still smoking pot. But I'd given up the hard stuff. Wasn't a fan of alcohol. I don't like not being in control. And that's what alcohol is for me. Because I don't know how to just have a couple. Like, it's ridiculous. Him and I split. My heart hurt. And I knew meth makes you go really fast. And you don't feel. And so we were living with my uncle at the time. And I went back to meth. No, not yet. His girlfriend wanted some cocaine. And we couldn't get it. And we're like, well, we can get meth. And she's like, okay. And me and my little sister, and it was off. It was bad. It got so bad. Like, she was getting divorced, so we assumed it was her alimony money. Like, we were just her drug dealers. Like, it made sense. Like, it totally made sense. Like, use her money to get more, but just give her what she's paying for because it made sense.
We've all done that.
Right? But, like, we didn't know she was, like, clearing out his check. Like, we go to buy Thanksgiving dinner, dude, and there's no money in the account. And we're like, and he's a manager of a diesel company. So we're like, what the fuck? Like, where's all the money? And off and running. It just continued. But it was still fun, right? Because I'm not a parent at this time. Like, I'm fucking numbing my pain, going to work, but stop coming around the family, right? Hanging out with friends. And I have a cousin I grew up with, but he went up to Tahoe. And I'm not sure what happened, but some bad shit happened up there and it broke his mental. And he came down and, like, I was like, I'm going to go see my cousin. And I see cousin and we're laying on my car, smoking a joint. And all of a sudden this car pulls up and all these people get out. And then who would eventually become my son's father, then my husband, then now my ex-husband gets out. And I told my cousin, who's that? And he's like, oh, that's, so-and-so. And I was like, well, good Lord, what's up with so-and-so? And he used, so that fit right in perfectly with me. And we got together, and I think 4 months in, we got pregnant with my son. And I didn't want the kid. We had a conversation. I ended up keeping the kid, staying pregnant, gave birth. I used a couple times during my pregnancy, but it never felt right. So I just, that was that. I gave birth to an almost 10-pound baby, the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And we didn't know what we were having. That's like the most beautiful thing. Like, we had no idea. Like, his dad was like, you very rarely in this day and age get surprises. And, like, this could be a real surprise. So, like, the way I carried, everyone said, like, oh, you're having a girl. So I would talk to my belly and be like, oh, Haley, what are you doing in there? And, like, and then, like, I ended up having a C-section because he was so big. And seeing his little balls flop, and I was like, oh, my God, it's a boy.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at him, and the first thing I said was, like, I told his dad, I was like, oh, my God, he has your head. Like, he looks fucking just like you. And I think that was one of the happiest days of my life. It was. My Nana came and held him, and it really was. And then let's see, I breastfed for about like 6 weeks, but he was such a beast, like my body couldn't keep up, and I was cool with that. I was cool because I could go back to using.
Right.
And it started off slow, and it progressed. And then I fell in love with the drugs, more in love with the drugs than my partner and my kid. And so then that in turn, my ex started cheating on me, and I couldn't. When you know there's something wrong, but you can't pin it. And he's like the reason I fell in love with him because he was such a stand-up guy. And I'm like, something's wrong, and everyone's like, no, he wouldn't do that to you. Like, I'm telling you, he would. Stuff happened. I ended up on like 5150 hold. Then I found out. I ended up pepper spraying him. I went to jail. Right. That's fucked up because depending on how the cop writes the charge, that's some fucked up shit. Yeah. And I had to go to jail for 2 weeks. That was terrible. That was terrible. Like, I do not recommend. I totally learned my lesson. If you're going to do something stupid, leave. Mm-hmm. Don't get caught, leave. My little ass was still talking shit. And got out of jail. We worked that out because that's what people do when they're loaded, right? Because they're mine. And shit's so sick now, like, having worked on it. Like, yeah. But back then, like, it's so fucking sick. Like, when I, like, reflect and I, like, look at previous step work. So I'm in a fellowship where I do that. And, like, and even now I'm doing a different set of steps. And, like, I'm looking at that shit and those behaviors. And I'm like, fuck, sick. Right? In the name of love. Problem is I don't think I knew what love was for a very long time.
Yeah.
I had an idea of it, right? Because I'd watched, like, my mom and her boyfriends fight, you know, and then, like, that when I was 13 and I got kicked out, like, I watched, like, my mom was telling on my dad about what he was doing at the time. That ended him up back in prison not too long after that, right? But I watched him drag her to the back room, right? And the next morning she has a black eye, right? So I had, like, this fucked up idea of what love was. And so I'm like, but everything changed after that between me and my ex. Like, when I found out, like, legit he was cheating, I got out of jail and we went back together, like, something died inside of me. Uh-huh. And I didn't care. And some broad, like, and it was so great. And like, there's certain memories of my life, like, I don't want amnesia when I get old, and it's super sick. But, like, him crying in the front yard when I pepper sprayed him was one, because my ex is, like, this huge dude, right? Big, tough guy. And, like, this girl, she'd come, we were renting a garage, and, right, because we're good parents, like, we're putting over our son's head. And she said something, like, she came and she, because the owner of the house was a fucking weirdo. Still is. And she needed somewhere to fix, right? And, like, it was quiet. And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh, it's in this house, so-and-so. I was talking about my old man at the time. And I'm like, oh. Because I'm thinking, like, I'm smoking a gang of dope, like, and I'm still going to sleep, and this motherfucker is wired for sound. Like, how is this? And I'm like, oh, this is how he gets down. Okay. And she's like, oh, I'm like, no, it's cool. Like, I put, you know, and she opened a brand new, I was like, hey, can I get some of those? And that started a whole, and I fell in love with slamming. Came before everything. And our relationship kept getting rockier and rockier. And that garage that we rented was about a mile from my Nana's house. So I would always be, like, the constant, right? Like, him and I start fighting, fuck you, I'm going to Nana's. And I remember one morning leaving and going to my Nana's, and later in the afternoon I get a phone call from somebody jogging by that house with the garage, and I'm like, dude, the house just got raided. And I'm like, my kid's there, right? And I just did a fucking shot of dope, and I was, it's July, like, it's hot, and I show up in a fucking thermal, because my arms are all fucked off, and I'm like, where's my kid? You know, and I don't know how the cops then and there weren't like, something is really, really off. But luckily they went swimming that day, and they left him at his, my ex's grandma's house. So his dad brought him, who was high as fuck too. Like, or maybe he was in drug court still at that time, so he wasn't. But yeah, the disease progressed, and I had this bright idea of, like, if I run away from home and leave my son with his father, I can make him be a dad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not how that shit works.
No.
Right? But it sounded really fucking good. Right? So I like met up with these somehow, I don't know, like I got introduced to these people who did credit card fraud. So I'm fucking staying at resorts and like loaded, like free play money. Like there was a routine, like get up, get loaded, get ready, go down to the bar, order a drink, right? Just one, go play slots, eat. Like there was this whole thing for 4 months, like this routine. And I'm under the delusion of like, he's being a dad, right? But like the mom and me, because this was at the end of the year and that's when we have all our holidays, right? Fucking Halloween, Thanksgiving. Like I would always try to make it home. Always. But like I made it, like I'll never forget that. I made it literally on Halloween, but they'd already went trick-or-treating and my son was asleep. I made it back after everybody had already ate for Thanksgiving. Like I remember like I made it back, but not soon enough.
Like just before midnight.
You know what I mean? And like, and then it's like I'd get to the hotel room where they were staying because they were living in a hotel room, and like I'd fucking go through his pockets. He'd have no dope, and I was out. And I remember I had blocked him on all avenues, right? Fucking everywhere. And my ex sent me an email saying I was done with you, and I was like, I'm ready to come home now. Come get me. Right? That sick shit. Like I don't want to be, but now I do because you don't want me. And fuck. And I came home and like we were together, but I like from living that lifestyle of like being at a resort where there's a casino and gambling, like I picked that up. So I stole $80 from him, dropped my kid off to school on the bus, right? And I had a good mom, so took my kid to school on the bus.
Yeah.
And went to the casino. Almost lost all of it, got it all the way up, and then I was like, oh, there's like, it's like $83. Like, I could just play a little more. Fucking lost all that shit. Fucking came back to the hotel room, he was done. And I couldn't understand it. He'd switched, our son by this time is 4. He'd have been 5 a couple months later. And he has a disability, so he had switched, because I come from a family who's loaded, right? So they're on their disease. And, like, they fucking told him when he was going to come get me from where I was staying, like, don't go get her. Leave her there. Don't get her. They're fucking so scandalous. And, but they had done, like, all the paperwork to switch everything into his name. So it's like I come back, steal his money. He's done with me. I have no food stamps, no cash aid, no fucking SSI, no nothing. I'm homeless on the streets with nothing, and I have a resentment. Like, you fucking brought me back. I fucked up one time, and now I have nothing. And you're content. And he started dating this girl who I fucking couldn't stand from high school, right? And, like, as a mom, you know when something's wrong with your kid, regardless. Like, I remember, like, he got me a hotel room, and I was, like, had my son. He was just, like, a toddler, and, but I remember him, like, we ended up going down the stairs in the parking lot, and, like, I'm chasing him around because I just want my kid, and he's telling me I'm not mentally stable to have him. And I'm fucking like, you know, you're a fucking dope dealer, bro. Like, you're no better than me. Like, you're the problem, too. Like, you're fucking killing people. And, but it all happened so fast, like, he hopped in a car, and I couldn't see, and he took off with my kid. And so my little vengeful ass, I fucking walked from fucking hotel to hotel, and I finally seen a car, and I fucking texted him, and I was like, I found the car. If you don't come out, I'm gonna smash every fucking window with this rock. And I sent him a picture, and like all of a sudden he pops right out, and he's like, our son's really sick and he needs you. And I'm like, okay. And he gets us a room, and I go upstairs, and I spend all day with my son, and but I run out of dope. That's, you know, when you're not dope, like, that's it. You know, you're going to sleep and you need to wake up, and coffee ain't going to cut it. And so I sent my son back down with him, went and did my thing, came back, and there was, like, this rumor or whatever, or not rumor, like, there were people in my room, and I knew the dude, didn't really know the chick, but the chick tells me something about the new girlfriend was, like, mean to my son, and, like, I don't care who you are. Like, you don't be mean to somebody else's kid. Like, I don't care. like even to this day, clean, coming up on almost 8 days away from 5 years. Like I'm very protective about children. That's why in the career I've chosen, I do not want to work with children because I don't even right now. Like my heart's going. Like I love kids, and you don't hurt kids, and so I'm like, oh what? And like dude gets out of the shower and he's like, why'd you like? Where is she going? And I'm fucking going downstairs. I'm like beating on the door. Like this is not fucking trying to go through the door to get to her. Cause like, I'm going to drown this bitch in the pool. That's my train of thought. Like, you know, and, they'd open the door, let me in. Him and I start fighting. And then like the truth comes out. Like you left me for this. Like they're telling me she's mean. Like you don't love me anymore. Right. And he had just picked up and was weighing out dope, a bunch of different dope sacks. And, so I grabbed the biggest bag I could find and I fucking ate it. I was like, I don't want beer no more. I don't want to do this. Like, you brought me back, and I literally have nothing. And that's, like, what my disease told me. So you literally have nothing. After I calmed down, I realized what I had done, and I tried to puke it up, and I couldn't get it up. And so I told that dude who was freaking out on his girl, like, why'd you tell her that? I was like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, because, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be good. And she's like, no, you can't take her to the hospital. And like he snatched the keys out of her hand, drove a fucking 90 miles to the fucking hospital, opened the door. He's like, I can't come inside with you, but I love you and good luck. And I was like, okay. And I walked into the hospital and I remember telling him, like, I need to see a doctor. I'm going to die. Right? Not keeping in mind at all that I just went toe-to-toe with over this 6-foot man, right? And then I was probably 130 pounds. I was just fucking tiny little thing. And got, like, all these red marks and shit all over me. And they're like, well, what is it? I'm like, oh, yeah, me and my ex, we just went toe-to-toe, but, like, that's irrelevant. Like, I'm going to die. I need to see a doctor. And it was insane. Like, they brought the cops in and you make a report. And I'm like, just tell them what happened. Cause I'm like, not worried about that. I'm like, legit, like, I don't want to die. And I'm like, well, can you give us a time frame? No, I can't give you a time frame. Like, I don't know. It was still dark. Like, and so 2015 is when all that happened. And they had to wait. I had this police officer come in, and him and I are still friends today. He let me go outside, right? I didn't have any cigarettes. He gave me a cigarette. I used his phone to call my ex, and he didn't give a fuck what was going to happen, if I was going to die or not. And he hung up, so I went to call him back, and the cop was like, nope, took the phone. He's like, we ain't doing this. You can have another cigarette, though, and then we're going to go inside. And then I felt the bag open. And so I guess I ate a quarter ounce of meth. And so I was like super nervous and scared, or the bag started to open and I felt it. And so that cop wanted to leave, and I told him, please don't leave me, I'm getting scared. And he says it was like a movie, like this invisible force came, punched me, flew back on the bed, started seizing, and then when my body stopped seizing, all the nurses and everybody rushed in. And he left and went to go find my son. But because of what I'd shared about Buddy, like, he went and got him a stack of green sheet papers and let him tear papers and waited for CPS to get there and took him treats. Buddy wasn't alone and Buddy wasn't scared. And that makes me cry, right? Because we often think times like, you know, the legal system fails us, police officers fails us. And here was this police officer who didn't know me, but he went to protect my son. And he listened to what I had said, and because of his disability, made sure he was okay. And he said he came back, and I was on a ventilator. I was on all the things. And they put me in a medically induced coma to save my organs. And because of his own issues, he didn't pray. Because of things I would later come to find out he'd been through, but he said that he prayed. And because he said he prayed to God, God, please save her, because what's going to happen to Buddy if she don't make it? And he said it was cool, like, my vitals, everything started improving. And so they take me off the ventilator, all that stuff. My mom tells him she's going to flip out. Don't take her restraints off. They didn't listen. They took my restraints off. They woke me up. I flipped out. Ripped everything out, ventilator thing, all of it. my mom said by the time she drove from one end of town to the other end of town, there was a voicemail saying we're back to square one. And so they listened to her this time around, like, you know, leave their strengths on her, let her wake up, let her, like, you know, because she's going on leave. She's a runner. She don't want to leave. And it was kind of cool. It's like in the movie, it's really, at least for me, like it's in the movies, right? Like when they show people coming out of comas or be in the hospital, and it's like your hearing comes back first and then your vision. And I remember hearing my twin sister's voice and her husband when I woke up. And I remember, like, to this, like, I couldn't, from ripping the breathing tube out, my voice was all fucked up. And so they gave me a whiteboard, and I wrote, and my twin sister taped my son's newest school picture to my bed. So I wrote Buddy with a question mark, and now I get it, bought touch on the table. And she cried. We don't know. I don't know where he's at. They won't tell us anything. And so I got home, right? I did everything you were like supposed to do, right? Found out I had a DCFS case, and I had a social worker come into the hospital, and shame comes to mind. She shamed me, you know, like, why would you do drugs having a child? You know, and how I shared earlier, like, my childhood was split growing up, like, no drugs as a kid, but a very unhealthy drug environment as a teenager. And so it was normal. You know, and I remember telling her that, like, it was normal. Well, funny, I'm a social worker today because of that. But she, so I left like a bad taste in my mouth, right? So here's like a hospital medical exposure to a social worker. Then I've had a whole slew of DCFS social workers. I did great. I did the outpatient program. And I had it, I can remember doing, like, I seen my son, all that. And I remember wanting to save my ex. And he wasn't ready. I created this problem. It was my fault. It was my job to get our son back. Because he came to see me in the hospital, and he had a bunch of dope on him, and he got arrested. And then after that, the cops just had a hard on for him. And so he was mad, and I created this problem. You have to get him back. And I did really good. I got into aftercare in my program. I moved up with visitations. But then I started drinking, right? Because we can't shoot dope, right? And I can remember arguing the first time I gave a dirty alcohol test with my social worker, like, but it doesn't say alcohol. Like, it says drugs. I started going to the Liquid Fellowship, AA, because I didn't have an alcohol problem. I had a slamming dope problem, so I could get my court card signed, but I would sit in a chair with alcohol in my Polar Pop. Oh,
yeah.
You know, like, what the fuck? I look at that shit now, and I'm like, jeez Louise, Ashley, right?
Thinking you were pulling it off, too.
Right, like, I was so fucking slip eating my peanut butter cups, like, right? Because peanut butter is going to cover alcohol. Oh, my gosh. Man, you know. He ended up getting with this chick, my ex, and I ended up relapsing. Because, you know, when you're not over your ex and then get with someone, all of a sudden you become an FBI, Facebook investigator. And open access and all of it. Like, I went down a real bad rabbit hole with it. And
looking her up.
All that. And real, you know, and she had a DCFS case and didn't get her kids. It was fucking sick. And I came out of Little Caesars. I'll never forget it. With a pizza and a bread. And I fucking looked down, and there's a dope dealer I just picked up because there was an ounce laying on the ground. And I fucking, you know, like in the movies, you look around, fucking, you know, tip the pizza box, let the breads fucking fall down, swoop down, pick them both up, get in the car, and fucking off and running. And it was bad, dude. Like,
you still had an open case at this point? Yeah.
I did. I had just figured out how to test in the windows. And even just the insanity of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, that shit was insane.
Yeah.
And so then this time it was like, it was all bad, right? Like, I stopped drug testing because in my mind, I'm not giving you a dirty test because I'm not drug testing. Like, you can say I'm dirty all you want, but I'm not giving you a physical drug test. And so everything that I had gained with my son, all the increase in visits, everything, it was like, doop. And I'd gotten a little job at Subway. It was like the worst day ever, I swear. Oh, in this time, like I had acquired this girlfriend or whatever, and she was like willing to go to bat and build this whole life for me, and I was just like I gotta go to rehab soon. Like this is getting out of control, like, and like I think it was like a Thursday. I'd seen my son come back, gotten fired, picked up my check, gotten some Fireball, gotten some scratchers, some dopes. Like at my mom's house, there's these big trees. So I'm sitting in the, shadows, fucking scratching my scratchers, smoking my cigarettes, and I'm watching my mom flip out. I'm just fucking still just chilling in the shadows, drinking, waiting, and then finally, okay, well, I lost all my fucking scratchers. So what the fuck are you flipping out about? There's this fucking letter. And she's like, oh yeah, you're such a fucking piece of shit. She brings out this letter and starts reading it. And I was like, oh, we're fucking still committing federal offenses, opening other people's mail. I didn't know you were Ashley. And it's a letter from DCFS saying at my next court date, if I don't do something different, they're putting my son on the adoption website. And I'm like, fuck. Well, then here comes that girlfriend that I told, like, no, I got to figure this out, right? Well, she done went and did everything I told her to do that I was joking about, right? Like, get a job, get a place, get a car. And she pops up like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, so I did it all. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know. I gotta go to rehab. Like, this isn't, and she's like, well, let's just go out and like have a night of fun and like forget about it. And I was just like, you can worry about that, And I'm like, all right, and go fucking, my phone dies, go to some bar, drink a couple drinks, wasn't feeling it, danced, wasn't feeling it. Go back with her to the apartment that she'd gotten us. Fucking wake up, and I'm like, plug my phone in. There's a million fucking missed calls from my ex's best friend. And he's like, what are you, because I had texted him and I called my ex when I read the letter to let him know, like, now it's your turn. Like, I did it. I fell. Now it's your turn. You need to do something. And, but he was fighting with his girl and hung up on me. So I called his best friend and I was like, check it out. Like, you need to get a hold of your friend and tell him, like, I don't care what he has going on with her. Like, this is serious about our kid. He's like, all right, I'll do that. Then I go out with that chick, and then I wake up, phone's dead. So I plug in, there's like a million missed calls from him. And I'm like, he's like, where are you? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, what do you mean you don't know? And I'm like, he's like, well, are you at a house, a condo, an apartment? I was like, I think I'm in an apartment. And he's like, okay, go find the mailbox. And I'm like, why? He's like, I guarantee you there's going to be mail. Go find the mailbox. There'll be mail somewhere around the mailbox. And so I can give me the address so I can come get you. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, so he came and got me. And I think that was like the first time that someone had said something to me that made me start to believe in myself. Because I was crying and I was like, I tried. And, and he was just like, and I was like, my ex, da-da-da. And he looked at me and he was like, but you know what, Ashley? He's like, at least you fucking tried. Like, you get to figure out what you're going to do moving forward. He's like, but nonetheless, like, he's like, he never tried. He's like, and that's my best friend, And it was cool. It wasn't like one of those snake moves to try to fuck me. It was like legit. He was just like, hey, at least you tried.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did, huh? And he's like, you did. He's like, and what you do forward. And it's fucking weird, right? So like I graduated high school from a continuation school, right? And one of the dudes I used to party with all of a sudden landed in the fucking rooms. And I was like, so I'm gonna, like, obviously AA is not working, so like I'll try a couple NA meetings. And then I fucking see this dude that I knew from high school, right? And he like, so we became joined at the hips. Like, I'm like, all right, well, we're not fucking. And he's like, okay, we're not fucking. And we start fucking. Right? It's fucking, it's crazy how that happens. And
you just say you're not.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You do? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna fuck, dude, right? We're friends. We've known each other for fucking 10 years at this point, I think, or whatever. Now it's crazy. I've got 20-year friendships. But like, he's like, yeah, totally. We're totally not. And but I end up like, he's like, you have to go to rehab. And I was like, well, I just did outpatient. He's like, yeah, well, apparently you fucking missed something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And so every day, like, he was so annoying. Every fight, like, just because we're fucking, like, we're not together, you know what I mean? Like, and he was just like, nope, did you call? Did you call for bed? Did you call for bed? And sure enough, like, that was cool. I got So I've had 5 clean dates. So 2, 3, 15. Then that didn't work out because I started drinking and then found dope, started using. So I quit using right before I actually got a bed in treatment, 1/28/16. And then I went to that treatment facility where I met Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And I did good there. I did good. Well, I did, but I didn't. They have rules today because of me, you know, and fraternizing with one of the gals there. And
what treatment center?
Maple House.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we're addicts. We don't like to be told what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
And especially when we have.
There was all kinds of fraternizing going on in there.
Yeah.
There was. Everybody was hooking up with everybody, I feel like. I just would walk in and just feel it.
Moving cameras and
all this
distractions
stuff.
And
yeah.
It was a team effort, dude, because the ones who were like strictly dickly, and then there's like those of us who are like gay for this day or whatever you want to call it, and like bored really, for being honest, bored. And because like we're up the street and the men are all the way at the other end, so it's like it ain't happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
I remember at Cedar House we'd make it happen.
Yeah.
Like hopping out of windows and stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, so we would have to go from like Tuesday, Thursdays were our long days, and we would have to go and program and be stuck there because they'd have treatment team. And like we'd hear there was a girl had gotten loaded in Maple House, so they sent her to Cedar House.
Yeah.
And then some dude fucking jumped out the window and they're fucking boning in the yard or whatever, and I think she got knocked up. Dude. But
treatment babies.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. And so, but I got like in trouble in like in the very beginning. Still didn't stop my shenanigans, but I got in trouble in the very beginning. So then it's like I have to be on extra good behavior. And I didn't get to have my son there, but a county worker would bring him, and I remember his birthday fell on one of my visit days. And so, and like I'm bougie when it comes to birthdays. I always have been, and I think that's because of A, being white, and B, growing up the way like my Nana, we were very like that's our jam. Like
I think it was more the grandma, less of being white. But okay.
like we decorate for all the holidays in our house. Like I just got like the cutest Halloween shower curtain. Go Temu. And right. And so, and I think that's one of like the greatest things too, is like in 2015 I had to sing happy birthday in a crowded CPS lobby with a cake I did not pick out, store-bought cake,
gifts you didn't buy.
Right? Like all that shit. And then 2016, I'm in treatment, and fucking my case manager, fucking bless her heart though, right? Like, and I don't mean that like in a fuck you, bless your heart type of way. Like, she bought me a cake mix and all that. And so I remember like I was the only one that got to, they didn't even have transportation that day. Like I had a window that I got to leave Cedar House, and I fucking practically ran to Maple House to make his fucking cake. And I sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited. And they didn't bring him that day to the visit. I remember that. And I remember all the girls in the background singing happy birthday with me to him on the phone and talking to his foster mom. And I'm like, I don't understand what happened. Like, today's visit day and it's his birthday. And I remember that, you know? And so it was like, I got out, I think, like 2 months later. And that was like, I was going to hold on to that pain and not fall down. And so I graduated. I did really good. It was cool. I went to court, that court date that was mentioned in the letter, and they were like all types of things. And I was like, but hold on, I'm in treatment. I put myself in treatment. And they were like, okay, well. So they told me about like the 388 option. Like they were still going to move forward. But what things were going to look like. And I was like, okay. Got out, went to sober living, was doing great. That night about the bar with the girl who came back and the best friend picking me up, well, it's because my ex had gotten busted and went to jail. So I was content in treatment. I knew where he was, what he was doing or what he wasn't doing. The girlfriend turned into a hoe because the guy I said I wasn't sleeping with Well, he knew her too from back in the day, so he came to visit me in treatment, and I was like a smart ass. I said, bro, where you been? Fucking so-and-so? And he was like, how'd you know? And then I got in trouble by staff because I jumped on him so excitedly, wrapped my legs around him. I was like, I fucking knew it. And he was just like, you're really taking this a lot better than I thought you would. And I was like, because it just proves that she's a fucking whore, bro. And I was right. Right? And so I'm doing great in my sober living, doing their little cha-cha to earn money. And my ex gets out of jail. And he calls me. And all of a sudden, where I'm at and it's not good. Like, I need to find a way to get back to Redlands. And because I'm living in Rialto. And sick. Like, I'm codependent and I know it. And get back to Redlands, stay with a friend who she used to be a dope dealer, but she was in a drug court, so that worked out, you know. She was at the end of her drug court run, though. Got a job, got into sober living. He got back with her because she miraculously got pregnant the day he got out of jail. I was like, bullshit, that's not your baby. That might be my friend's baby. She's just hating. I'm like, okay. So then start drinking again. But this time it's cool to sit in an NA meeting, right? Because I missed out the part where they talk about alcohol as a drug. So there I am back with my Polar Pop, get my court card signed because, you know, I'm not slamming dope no more. And
some people actually believe that too. Some people,
dude,
they I mean, I'm one of those people, right?
Yeah.
But it's like that shit. You're never gonna heal completely until you're completely abstinent, bro. That's the only ground for recovery. You know what I'm saying? You can have abstinence without having recovery, but you can't have recovery without having complete abstinence, bro.
Yeah.
It just doesn't go that way, you know?
Yeah, for sure, because you fucking anything.
I had a conversation yesterday with somebody about methadone and Suboxone, and they disagreed with me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They need to add something about marijuana in that reading, in my opinion.
From your personal opinion.
Yeah. That should count too. They need to mention that.
California
just
clean.
so it's clear.
Yeah.
Just so it's clear.
Yeah.
Anyway.
For sure. So I was just started doing like, I got kicked out of there we go. So I started getting high, right? So I started dating some dude in the fellowship. Bad idea. He was such a romantic. It was so cute. Bad idea though. He would like pick me up from work with flowers and little shot bottles. That's romantic. It is romantic. When you find someone to co-sign your shit, I'm a flower whore. I love flowers. Or got flowers tattooed on my arms everywhere. I love flowers. And
I made a bouquet out of syringes one time.
my sick ass brain's head right now. I would love to see that.
Yeah. Yep. It was sick. I thought it was romantic.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
time,
Yeah.
Especially if it was the combo, so you could like switch the tops. Anyways.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
Move on.
So yeah. Some are sicker than others. Anyways. So that relationship didn't work out. No surprise though. I kept dating all these guys because I was bored. And I wasn't dating, it was fucking, right? Using them and getting what I could. I didn't have a car, I needed rides, I needed this, I needed that. But I had a job, so I was Miss Independent. Come to find out later, I didn't know it at the time, but my house manager at my sober living had relapse, and I didn't know it because I worked graveyard. So my schedule was different from theirs, which made the using easier to hide. Because like I come home in the morning, I gotta go to bed. I'm just gonna go be locked in my room. And the owner wanted to drug test everybody, but it was because I didn't know it was because of the manager of the sober living and house manager. Well, I had a down ass roommate. She was like fucking down to co-sign my shit, cover for me, like everything. We're getting drug tested right now, and I was like. Yeah, so I'm not peeing in that cup. I'm loaded. And then, like, when it came out, I was like, well, I'll just leave. And then I shouldn't have said the ego, right? I'll just leave. And then the owner was like, okay. And I was like, I was just kidding. She's like, no, you already said you're going to leave, so leave.
Yeah.
Okay. And I went down to my mom's. Mind you, I'd gotten a sponsor at this time. Wasn't utilizing her like I should have. But my ex had found a way, used somebody in the program to weasel his way into her sober living. And she didn't know it until after the paperwork was signed and money was collected. So she calls me to yell at me, and I'm drunk. And it did not go well. And I had a coworker who had just gotten a place in Corona. And I was like, and she needed a roommate. And I was like, if I don't get out of here, I'm going to fail. Like, I'm going to fail miserably. I'm back at my mom's, where it's like the philosophy in that house kind of is like, we won't give you your first one, but we're not opposed to giving you the second one. You know, that's like the theme of that house. So I moved out to Corona, you know, still drinking, but off the dope. And I remember telling myself, like, this is a problem. I have to stop, you know? And there was this fucking liquor store right next to the apartments that opened at 6 o'clock in the fucking morning. And I got off at 6, so by the time I rode the bus, liquor store was already open and popping. Like, because I got off the bus at like 6:30, 6:40. So I remember, like, there was like a street light and you had to like be in the crosswalk and all that. And I was like, no, I'm going to fucking jaywalk because I don't want to go by the liquor store because I can't not go in there. Like, because I worked my ass. Like, I earned that. Like, I earned it. And I got a fucking jaywalking ticket. Right?
Who gets those?
I did.
You have?
Yeah.
Fucking
Really?
$800, dude.
Yeah.
I refused to pay that fucking ticket still to this day. I got the, yeah.
I couldn't get my driver's license when I finally started, like, when I got a car in recovery, and I
Yeah.
needed to I couldn't get a driver's license because I got a jaywalking ticket in Upland with the IVRS sober living. Yeah. Yeah.
And I even told the cop, like, look, I have a CPS case. I'm trying to do good. Like, I've switched from drugs to alcohol. Like, I was like legit. Like, he's like, yep, but my ID had the sober living address on it in Redlands. And his big thing was, you're not from here, and I don't want people coming from different cities thinking they can just do whatever they want. I was like, are you serious? And that lasted until it didn't. And then I came back home to Redlands, right? I had a really good friend, made a really good friend. And this guy, we became like super close. That I'd met in 2016. There was like a whole group of us. Me and this one guy became really close friends. Tried to date, wasn't a good idea. Realized that like we didn't even make it 30 days. It was like, you know, like our 90-day probation period at work. Well, didn't even make it 30 days. So I was like, yeah, we're better off friends. And but so he brought me back to Redlands, to back to my mom's. And but I really tried to give recovery a chance. Like, I really did. So 4/5/2017 was my new clean date. I was doing really, really well. I went to my first convention, first Palm Springs convention, right? Like, I was fucking trying. And then that didn't work out. Like, the whole thing with my ex and his chick, like, that didn't work out. Because, what do you know, the baby wasn't his. And he hits me up and he's like, can I pick you up? We need to talk. And I'm like, okay. We drive out to the water tower or something. Like, oh, he's probably going to kill me now. And but he's clean because he's in drug court, doing the deal, working, going to school. Okay. And he's like, Ashley, I need your help. Help with what? And he's like, you've been trying. I've been trying. Like, financially, we can't do this on our own and we're running out of time. I'm like, okay, well, and then he like makes some, like, you know, comment about fucking. I'm like, no, I'm fucking someone else. I'm good. You know, I'm like, okay, well, if we do this, like, I want the bedroom. You guys could have the living room. And he's like, Ashley, I don't care. Like, we're running out of time. And I was like, fine. Right. But deep in my heart, it was like, this is going to work. So I did all the footwork, right? I had to fucking got a job. I was working, because I'd lost a Circle K job. I fucking was working a warehouse job, 4 a.m, trying to find us an apartment. I found us an apartment in the hood, right? I saved my checks, got the utilities turned on, right? We got our own little spot. I filed the 388 paperwork. I thought it was common knowledge. I didn't know it wasn't. I didn't tell him to file the 388 paperwork because I thought it was common knowledge. So we went to court one day. He was fucking pissed. So I was like, good job, Ash. Fucking, what's going on, Joe? And but we got through that. It was kind of cool because where our first apartment was like off a baseline. So all the way at the other end of baseline is where my son, like his foster mom, bought a house. So it was like, it wasn't that far. So like I got to pick him up for therapy, right? Because I bought a little beater car in recovery off of somebody who relapsed for $450. But I mean, hey, not working a program at this time, and I needed a car, and it worked. And Goldie, oh poor Goldie, fucking car was, oh my god. And I had to have plastic on the outside taped in the winter months because the person before, I don't know what the fuck he did, but he bent the door, the metal, like it was so rain would come in. So I had like, when I was driving, like it was a whole hot mess. Like if I was a cop, I would have pulled me over thinking I was loaded for sure. Mm-hmm. Like just because the car screamed fucking loaded. And like, so, but anyways, I got to like pick up my son because he's severely autistic, go to the house, do therapy, take him back. And then we moved up. I think we got only a couple weekends. And then the order was put in that on the next court date, we would get to take him home. And, right. And so that was still, I remember we took him home. It was New Year's 2017. My ex had always tried to control my addiction, always. And I just wanted to have something to bond with him, you know, drinking. And so I remember we dropped our son off. I think I've never been a tequila person. I'm not a bougie drunk at all. I want rot gut, cheap, effective stuff. I remember I think we took a couple of shots of tequila and he was like, that's it. I was like, okay. And we were driving to his brother's in Beaumont. And I remember he asked me to marry him. And I thought like, oh my God, I've arrived, right? We got a place to play house. The kid's coming home. We're going to get married. Life's going to be great. We got our kid back. And that's like one of my greatest accomplishments, right? 1/16/2018. We got our son back. Our apartments were just janky as fuck, right? His uncle owns a few houses in Redlands. He came to look at some stuff. He didn't feel comfortable that there were literally drive-bys. Like you'd come out of the apartment complex and like there's the scenes. You know, they're doing their crime scenes and they're picking up bullets, and his uncle was not okay with that. So we moved in February of 2018. I got married March 10th, 2018. May 9th, 2018, I came back to recovery. Because I knew in my heart that it was going to fall apart. Like, I don't see a problem with drinking and driving. I pay the car payment, I pay the insurance, and I'm not walking to the liquor store. That's what seatbelts are for, right? And that's really cold and insensitive, but that's my truth. And so I came back to recovery. I started working the steps, but I slow played them. And I kept slow playing them. 1, 2, 3 shuffle, just fine, because I was the chronic relapser. People, you know, in this, and I'm not, the fellowship's flawed. Let me say that, right? No matter what fellowship you do in recovery, AA, NA, CA, the program's the program. The programs is in the literature, but the fellowship's flawed. You guys know this. Mm-hmm. So I would have women tell other women, why are you sponsoring her? Don't you know she's a chronic relapser? And my ego's like, yeah, watch this bitch. And, right, so I would attempt, but I didn't want to be honest with myself. And but I got to a year. Our case closed for 1818. And of course, so I went to pick up the minute order and to celebrate with a little shot. And then I came back to recovery, right? 5/9/18. And I got a year. And then something happened, really devastating. A really close loved one to me crossed the line with my husband on my belly button birthday while I was at home with our son going to his first, I think it was speech appointment. And like I remember he came home that night and I thought he'd gotten loaded. And I was like, babe, it's okay. We can get through this. Like, just tell me what you did. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Well, then he started treating me like shit and I didn't know why. Flash forward to Father's Day. I throw this huge barbecue, New York steaks. Like, my ex doesn't eat vegetables. So I had like 3 different type of potato salad, all this stuff, right? And my dad comes. And they go for a walk, and I'm a daddy's girl. And all of a sudden I see my ex like bawling, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, my dad's dying. My dad's dying, and he told him, and he has to tell me, and like, this is what I jumped to. And so I have a commitment. I go to a meeting. My sponsor's there. I leave. I go home. And my ex had managed to make it home. And I'm like, what's going on? And he starts telling me, well, it's not her fault. Her fault. Her. Get out. Get out of my fucking house right now. Get out. And I called my twin sister, who later come to find out was part of that whole ordeal. And I leave. I go back to the meeting, bonfire meeting, because now they have the one and then the other. Mm-hmm. So I go back to the meeting and I go in and I break down and I tell my sponsor what I just found out. And I tried, but I didn't want to deal with the pain, and I went back out. I went on vacation. Mind you, I had just started as a college student, right? Because I was afraid. That house that I moved into in Redlands was 3 minutes from my mom's house, and I was afraid if I didn't do something while my son was in school, I would get loaded. So I started college. And, but I relapsed on alcohol. So half of that semester was me showing up to class so hungover or drunk. I don't know, taking anatomy and physiology drunk is not the class to try to take. And my new clean date is 10/9/2019. I would love to say I beat up that other person who betrayed me, but the reality of it is that night I was so fucking hammered, I don't know. I took a hostage, right? Because someone in recovery who I manipulated, who had feelings for me. I had him driving me around, right, that night, and then it all exploded. I'd love to say I beat her up. I don't know. And then the next day, I decided I was going to do something different. But I continued to slow play my steps. I came back, though, ate that humble pie. I got a white key tag. And the reality of it is I lied to myself and told me if I came back to the fellowship and I became the perfect example of recovery, I could save my marriage. And that's just not how that works. And shit just started falling apart. Him and I got back together. It was like I felt like a hypocrite because here I was in the program trying to live right, but I had this whole other side of my life that was dirty. And I felt like I couldn't share about it in meetings because it would make me a hypocrite. And I ended up switching sponsors and staying clean through all these different crazy things. 2022 was magical, right? Because and it's like then it wasn't magical. I would have told you I was fucking dying because I literally was fucking dying on the inside. But there were times like I would sit at home and I wouldn't even go to a meeting. I would sit at home on my couch because I didn't trust myself to leave the house. I didn't trust myself to reach out. I didn't nothing. But I have built some amazing relationships with women, and I fucked up and let them know where I live. Right? Yeah. So I'm assuming you guys laugh because like people are showing up. Like I'd watch my phone ring and then there'd be a message that if you don't call me back, I'm coming to your house. Yeah. Right? So I'd be like, fuck, okay, I'm gonna give them the bare minimum conversation. I gotta go, I got homework, Edward has therapy, whatever. 2022 was magical though. Now looking back, it was so magical. I graduated from that community college with honors. I got accepted into the university to their Bachelor of Social Work. My ex and I, from the previous patterns of cheating, I seen that that's what was coming down the pipe. I was also working a fast food job because he decided he didn't want to work, and I was trying to make ends meet. That person who betrayed me was actually a family member, and they had a kid in 2020. In 2022, my ex and I separated in July. I started the university in August. In September, I got a phone call that from that person's significant other's sister that they were in a local hospital in San Bernardino fighting for their lives. And I was like, that's not possible. They don't do fentanyl. That's the other sister. And they're like, no. And mind you, this is my first semester at the university, so I threw my laptop. Thank God it didn't break. Thank God we had carpet in that house. And if you look on my cameras, I probably looked like a character, right? Because I'm running in and out of the house, right? Go to get in the car, there's no car keys. Go to get in the car, back out, I don't have the car seat to go try to find my niece, right? So I come back in, right? I don't even have my purse. So it's like I had to come back to the house 3 times before I could actually leave my house. I'd never been through anything like this, so I called my ex, like, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? And he starts yelling, so I hang up, right? We're not going to do that. So I'm going to go to the hospital, and I'm going to go find my little sister and find out what's going on. They won't tell me anything. I leave to go find my niece, right? And here I am. I've got my clean date for meth, which I know, like, in the program, we only count one, like, we count one abstinence from everything. Mm-hmm. But my clean date for meth is really important to me because that's where it began, where my mind could open in my eyes. So that's 10/10/2016. And so I go to this house. I'm waiting for the CPS worker, right? I'm so excited to tell her, like I'm getting ready to come up on a milestone, like on 3 years clean, but we're not going to go the alcohol route. We're going to give them the drug of choice clean date, and I'm going to school to be one of you guys. And long story short, I got denied from having my niece placed with me because it wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. As long as my case had been closed, wasn't enough. My clean date wasn't enough. And I went home and I was so defeated, right? Because I had stayed up so late getting everything ready. Like, I'd had my niece so much with me. Like, she already had her own everythings at my house. Her own diapers, her own clothes, her own everythings. Like, her own little potty toilet. And I was defeated. And I was like, why am I even doing this? And I remember going to see my sister the next day, and she was like, why are you here? And I couldn't see it then, but I can see it now. God's hand was moving. And she had her on like this Narcan drip, and she was fucked up. And told her, like, I know the way. Like, you're going to come to this place with me, and there's going to be this group of addicts, and we don't look alike, but our pain is the same. Mm. And, flash forward, right? Then I turned 3, and my ex fucking gets hit on his Harley. Someone runs a red light. And see, I thought we were working things out, even though I'd kicked him out and we weren't together. And I come to find out that he has a girlfriend and all this crazy, insane shit. And I'm like, I want to die, right? But I'm not going to die. And but January of that year, like, I got a new sponsor, and I told myself, like, I'm going to work the steps this time, right? And the spiritual awakening was at the end of that 12th step was that my marriage was over. My marriage was over. I couldn't save him, and I didn't bail. I didn't fail and I struggled, but I know in my heart, like, I didn't fail as a wife. And so, and I think, like, God placed all this stuff the way he placed it in my life. Right? Because here I am now, the big sister in recovery, and I can't go get loaded. My heart hurts and I cannot go get loaded. I have to be an example, right? And I walked through some, you know, so I graduated. So like that's the cool thing, right? Is or that following year, 23 comes. And this is like the good part of the story, right? Like, and this is like for who's listening, like you can stay clean through hard shit, right? I wanted to die, I didn't die. I wanted to go get loaded, I didn't get loaded. My dream of being a CPS worker was shot down because of that pepper spray I went to jail for. The original charge was a felony. And so that was they consider that, HR considers that violence. Right? I nailed the interview, come back with your degrees, both counties will hire me on the spot. But HR will not take a chance on me to intern. So I get into this internship working with the formerly incarcerated who have now come to the university to make a life for them. And I've fallen in love. I graduate with honors. I get accepted into the 1 year's master's program, which I am currently at, and it is fucking insane, but we can do hard things. That little sister has stayed clean. In 3 days, she will take 2 years clean. Nice. She got her baby back. She got her case closed. So for her, like we were talking about it in this last year, like she says, I didn't have to do it. There were no consequences. And I did it anyways. I'm 8 days away from 5 years. I got really, really sick, hospitalized sick, right? And like the disease comes in your own voice. They had me on steroids, high flow oxygen, all that shit. And they were like, well, we can give you Norco, right? Give you Norco, IV steroid, and Norco. And my brain's like, yeah. Right? But not like, yeah, I'm going to get high. Like, yeah. Like, because the steroid made me super antsy. I just didn't like it. And then my disease kicked in, right? Because first logic kicks in like, well, that's like a 10 of Norco every 6 hours. But I'm not in pain. I'm using this to change my feelings. That's what we do when we're loaded. So I reach out to people and I talk to people in the program, and some of them are like, oh yeah, totally. And others are like, well, but it's monitored. It's okay if it's going to calm you down. And my brain is like, oh, well, I have a favorite uncle who's fucking has a huge bottle of these, and I'm sure I could probably get at least 20 to 30 off of them before he even realizes it's an issue. Right. And then I had to like get honest, you know, that like I'm an addict in recovery. This is too close to home. You know, so like if there's any hope in any of that message, right? Like life's gonna life, right? It's gonna be good. It's gonna be hard. Yep. It's gonna be amazing, you know? And then like the most recent thing before I shut up, like my grandparents raised me. That spiral in 2014, like when I ran up away from home and all that idea, like my Nana had died, right? Suddenly, her heart just, we didn't know it, but our heart gave out. Well, now here we are, flash forward 10 years. And when I look at my Nana, my papa's like my mom and my dad. Well, now my dad's dying. And I can't save him. And I can't do anything about it. And it's fucked up the way he's going to die. They found a mass in his lungs and they can't do anything because it's on 2 big blood vessels. And it's trapping the pneumonia in his lungs. And he's not going to come home. And his whole house is filled with the disease and there's nothing I can do about it. So I get to stay in my lane, lean on a God of my understanding, reach out to the people I trust in the fellowship, and put one foot in front of the other. And be the granddaughter that he always wanted and that he is so proud of. And find time in my busy ass schedule to go to the hospital every single day and spend time with him. You know, and it's an honor. Yeah, that's my life in a nutshell.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was very, very good.
Yeah, we didn't even have to say anything.
No.
Yeah. All right, so Ashley, if there's one thing you can tell somebody who's been through some of the things you went through, maybe loaded right now or early in recovery, what would you tell them?
Get honest with yourself, right? It's easy to lie to everybody else, right? Especially when we're new or when we're gonna get clean. We're going to treatment next week, right? We're gonna go next week. Get honest with yourself. If I would have got honest with myself a lot sooner, I probably would have spared myself a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But I kept lying to myself. And just because you get honest with yourself doesn't mean you have to go tell everybody that you're getting honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley. And for anybody who's listening, please subscribe, like, share with somebody who might need to hear Ashley's story. Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram. And then, Mike, you want to tell us the email if they want to reach out to us?
Yeah, we have an email address. It's the messages hopepodcast@gmail.com. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Perfect. Thank you.
As someone who struggled with addiction in the past, how does it feel to be able to give hope to others who are still struggling now?
You know, it's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you and take you out forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.